What's up, everybody? Thank you for listening to the Chewsday special podcast. Before we get into this week's episode, I'd like to thank our official sponsor, Cabarrus Brewing Company, Concord, North Carolina, on McGill Avenue. Your beer from here. They have everything from wheat, IPAs, double IPAs, all your craft beer needs in the Concord area. Thank you for your support. Go check them out. CabarrusBrewing.com. Let's get into the episode.
Everything you said we already knew, more or less.
Well, here's something that you didn't know. 2 of those special atomic bombs haven't gone off.
All right, how's everyone doing today, tonight, this weekend, this week? I don't know, whatever you're listening to this podcast. This is episode 3 of the Chewsday special podcast. That's right, the Chewsday special podcast. My name is Patrick Price. I am your host, and we have a pretty fun podcast. My guest today is a guy named Brad Wilson. Brad was a super wrestling fan. We'll get into it. You hear his whole story. I've known him for about I think he's been going to PWX shows for like 3 years. I've known him for about a year and a half personally. He's become one of my good friends around wrestling. He's been on a bunch of my podcasts. Me and him talk wrestling all the time. He's helped out with videos. He's helped out with everything we asked him to. And Brad's a cool dude. He's got a cool story. Brad supports me and my friends in the comedy field. He supports the wrestling thing. He's just a supportive dude, and that's hard to find in this time and day. But yeah, man, Brad's an awesome dude. You hear about his love of comedy, his love of music, his love of professional wrestling. I know this is the second podcast episode that has heavy wrestling aura to it, but that's the people I hang out with, and I made a claim to myself that when I started this podcast, I was going to talk to my friends. I was going to talk to my friends, my family, my foes, my business partners, my business associates. That's what it's about. I got some cool stories. We were at BB&T Ballpark last night in Charlotte, North Carolina. That's the White Sox affiliate in Charlotte. We had a wrestling show there, and it was pretty wild, pretty crazy to see wrestling in a ball field. I've been to like the big ball field shows up in the Northeast. I've been to a few of those and seen what those are capable of, but never in the Mid-Atlantic, in the Charlotte area. But it all came off without a hitch. I think everybody was happy with the performances and the crowd. Yeah, that was the longest baseball game I've ever been to in my life. It started at 5:05, and we had 3 matches after the show. And yeah, it took like not 4 hours, like 3 hours to play the game. I mean, like not even 3, maybe 4. It started at 5:05. We went on at 9. So 4 hours from the first pitch to when we set up. So it's about 3.5 hours. First 4 innings took like 2 hours, from 5:05 to 7. First 4 innings. The Knights won. It was a good baseball game. If you ever get a chance to go out to that stadium, it's amazing. I think it's CharlotteKnights.com. Tickets are super affordable. It's a beautiful stadium. They have great food, great beer. Just knock it out. But yeah, I've talked too much, and it is a sweat box in the studio, the garage studio. So without further ado, this is my talk with Weekends Are for Wrestling's on Brad Wilson. I might keep that in there. I don't know. All right, we're sitting here in Hebron Hall, the wrestling mecca.
The wrestling mecca, the home
of Charlotte, North Carolina.
the home away from home.
The home away from home.
If I'm not at home, I'm here. If I'm not here, I'm at Cabarrus.
Is that true?
Huh?
You hear more than you hear more than I am, or am I here more?
No,
than
I was just exaggerating and being more interesting.
Oh, for the shows. Okay.
Well, for the show.
Yeah, we're here a lot. I remember the first time we ever walked into this place.
Yeah, I mean, I got a text from Brian. He's like, "Hey, come to this address," and then filming the announcement it was coming in.
This place is crazy. But yeah, so we're here. This is the Chewsday special podcast, and this is Brad Wilson.
I am Brad Wilson.
Brad Wilson is a wrestling fan, become a friend, now helps out a lot with PWX.
Yeah.
This will be like the second PWX portion show, or PWX, I guess, topic show. Because we had Brian on 2 weeks ago.
Hopefully I'll be just as entertaining as Brian.
No, this will be way more entertaining than Brian. No, thank you, Brian. But yeah, So yeah, but we'll go ahead and the weekends are for wrestling Facebook group.
Yeah, it is. Weekends are for wrestling. You can find it. You just type in hashtag Weekends are for wrestling on the search
Is
bar.
the hashtag part of the name on the group?
Yeah,
Okay.
it is. It is.
Gotcha.
It started out as a hashtag, and then one night I was just like, yeah, I'm gonna turn it on into a group. And then
Gotcha.
by the time I woke up, I had 211 followers.
Oh.
So I started trying to take it into a little bit more. I have a lot of big plans for it. I've kind of scaled back because I realized I don't have enough time in the day to do everything I want to do.
That's the worst. That's the story of my life. Is like you put something out, and it gets a little bit of a buzz, and then you have all these ideas for it.
Yeah, and then because like I started it and I was going to start originally how it started out is the group was so fans could carpool together, wrestlers could
Yeah.
carpool together.
Oh,
a
I didn't know
central
that.
location. Yeah.
Oh,
and
okay.
it's evolved from that because I guess fans only want to ride with
interacting
other
and-
people they know, and the whole thing was to bring people together. It's like, hey, I'm from this area, I'm from this area. We don't know each other, but we can ride together. And
So
apparently,
are-
people aren't that.
So are you one of were you one of the people that if wrestlers need rides, you let
Yeah.
them hop in the car and go?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've driven high profile to Florida.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that your first fest?
Fest.
Is that your
Yep.
first fest?
That was the first
wrestling?
fest. Yep.
That's a cool story. Let me hear that story. How did
Listen.
all that come around?
Well, I've wanted to go to Fest since I started seeing it. I had friends that go down there. Mm-hmm. They're also PWX wrestlers.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, I may want to go down to this Fest. Is there anybody to ride with? And then so Taylor, Rob Killjoy's girlfriend, she hit me up. She's like, hey, if the guys can ride with you, Rob said he may be able to get them a spot. And I was
Gotcha.
like, enough said, because
So you were already planning on
yeah.
going down? Okay.
Yeah, I was planning on going on if I could find a carload of people to split costs with.
Gotcha. Okay.
So we ended up going down, splitting costs, splitting an Airbnb. They ended up getting a spot on the show.
Just so you know, if you ever need another Airbnb, just hit up Tony, because he has one.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't
Because
know
he
that.
invited. It sucks because Tony. For those of you who don't know what we're talking about, there's a company called Fest Wrestling down in Gainesville, Florida.
Yep.
I always say Gainesville, Georgia. Every time I talk about it. Every time, like leading up to the show that we did with them, every time I'd say Gainesville, Georgia. But Gainesville, Florida. And Tony Weinberg is the owner, and he also runs a big music festival,
Yeah,
October
D-Fest.
28th weekend, I think.
Yep.
That's the Fest Music Festival, and that's, I guess, he's from the music industry. I've never really. I want to sit with him and talk and have him as a guest on the podcast.
Oh, he's-
But he invited me and Brian. He's like, listen, man, if you want to come down in September, I really want you to come down the October date, because that's our big show. But if you want to come down in September, let me know. I'll keep the Airbnb open and this and that. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. But I got a little alien on the way. So, and for September 1st through the day the baby's born is no go. Like, no fly zone for Patrick. I can't go anywhere. I got to stay at home or at least around the Charlotte area.
nice.
But yeah.
I've had a chance to meet Tony when I was down there, and I was like, hey, man.
he's a trip, man.
I love him.
Oh, dude.
I was like,
love
hey,
him
I
to
drove
death.
down from, and actually before PWX versus, this was way before PWX versus Fest was even an idea.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, hey, I'm from Charlotte. He's like, oh, do you go to PWX? He's like, I love PWX. I'd love to work with him one day.
Yeah.
And let him know, and like less than a year later, there's
Yeah.
this insane event at Hebron Hall.
It's cool. It's cool when you can make that stuff happen. Like, and it took a lot of work, but it was fun. And yeah, and it was an incredible moment. It's available on the Hot Spots Wrestling Network if you're into the wrestling thing. Hot Spots, is it hotspotswrestlingnetwork.com?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The whole thing typed out. Because
Yes.
I always try to type in, I always try to shorten it, and it never works. Because
I've always told Mike, like, hwn.com. Like, if it's available. Just
Yeah.
hwn.com is so easy, but it's not available. But yeah. So, okay, so I'm sorry. I just completely cut into your story there. But so you were going down to Fest.
Yeah, and then
And-
Taylor hit me up, and I've been friends with Will and Shay. Will and Shay were, when I first started going to shows, they were the first two wrestlers to really start talking
Gotcha.
to me as more than a fan, and then Killjoy and Drake, and then so I've always had this friendship and this bond with Will and Shay. So anytime they need anything that I can help out with, I'm automatically down. And as soon as I started, hey, possible spot, done.
Gotcha.
Done. So we went down there. It was supposed to be we all split the drive. An hour into
you
it,
paid off.
everybody's asleep, and
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I
of
drive. I drive the whole way, which didn't mind
That's
me.
what, like, I always say, it's so funny because, like, there are a few times that we worked with Evolve. I would, like, Henry and Drake would ride with me, and I would always drive, and my girlfriend would get on to me. But I'd always drive because I hate riding with other people. Like I despise being in a car with someone else driving.
Like, yeah, I get to the same way.
OCD or paranoia or
There's certain people that I feel comfortable riding with, and it's
like
people that
your
I've known
dad or
over
mom?
a decade.
Yeah.
Well, even
it's
my
like,
dad. My dad's a truck driver, and I still hate
Oh,
riding with him because he
see,
drives in a small car the same way he does a truck.
I can ride with my mom and dad, and maybe like Katie, maybe
I can't.
Katie.
I
But
can't
Katie,
ride with
like
my
I
girlfriend.
still, we were in the car yesterday, and I was gonna try to take a nap because we had a party to go to, and I told her, I was like, you just drive, okay, it's fine. And every time somebody hit the brakes from her, I'd be like, brakes, turn here. She's like, I know where I am, Patty. Okay, sorry. Yeah, all the time.
I took my girlfriend down to Fest this past show.
Uh-huh.
The show before PWX Fest, and we drove down there, and I needed some sleep because I had APW. Then I woke up early. We're going down to Gainesville. I drove down to Columbia. We got some breakfast. I was like, all right, just drive to Hardyville, which Hardyville is right above Savannah.
Okay.
I go to sleep. She wakes me up. I'm like, man, I feel like I didn't even sleep an hour. She's like, we're in Hardyville, and I'm still waking up. I get in the driver's seat, and I look around. I was like, we're 200 miles from Hardyville. I was like, what are you talking about? She's like, no, the sign said Hardyville. I was like, we're not in Hardyville.
No.
So I drove all the way down there.
Oh.
So, but
What is Gainesville, like 8 hours?
6.5 hours.
Oh, that's not too bad, though.
No, it's not a bad drive at all.
I might need to make that drive. After the baby's born, I'm going to make it to a fest show.
But people now is like, I don't know if I'm brave enough. I may try it next time just because the expense gets a lot getting the Airbnb and everything.
Yeah.
But people now are driving down there and then after the show, driving back and getting back. Which I don't know if I could do that.
I've done that. Like, Jake Manning is the king of that. And I've done that to New York.
No.
Like, to New York, fit to a show, film it, break the ring down, drive back. That's made for many of very scary experiences and many good stories from those days.
But I love being on the road. But now I've tailored it back. Like I wake up at 5 a.m. to go to work. So I used to travel like a Saturday, Friday night I'll travel. Saturday I'll travel. Okay. Sunday the show has to be close to me or else I'm not. I used to like go to Greensboro, 2.5 hours away. Used to go check out somebody, and I was like, nah, not anymore. It's like I wake up way too early for that.
I'm with you. I can't. I used to like the road. I used to like to drive, like ride and drive and everything. But now
I find myself now, like I haven't gotten fully to that point. I still like driving, and I got to myself now that if I stay home both days on the weekend, I'm no more rested on a Monday morning than I am if I was. So I feel like I just wasted it.
Well, it's experience. Like I'm an experience-based person. So I feel like if you Like, you can't take anything with you when you die, so do things for experience.
Yeah.
That's why, like, being a professional wrestling fan or a music fan or a sports fan, and you spend all this money on games and concerts and wrestling events and all that, anybody outside of that bubble will look at you and be like, why do you waste your money?
Oh, yeah, and that's the biggest thing I hear all the time from my friends that don't go. They're like, why do you go to wrestling? Like, you're never – I was like, this is what I enjoy.
Yeah.
I was like, I understand that I'm not. I was like, I understand I'm not going to the same bars as you every single Friday and Saturday. But
you go spend $40 or $60 at a bar drinking. And
I was like, and understand now it's gotten to a point where I can go to any show and not know if anybody's going and still find people to hang out with because, I mean, the wrestling community as a whole, I've been accepted into. I have friends at every promotion that I've been to promotions where I didn't know a single person that was going there, and ended up being able to sit with a group of people because, I didn't know you were coming.
That's what it's all about.
That's what I love most about wrestling is, like, I come from a background of not everybody got my sense of humor. I was always the asshole, quote unquote.
Guy.
Yeah. But
the weird
in wrestling,
guy that's always got a smart ass comment.
Yeah, but in wrestling, it's perfectly acceptable because that's how we all talk to each other.
Yeah, it's a weird. I like it. Like, I don't even say I've stepped foot in the comedy world. But like you came and saw me do stand up, and I'm trying to do that. But with my schedule, it's so hard to get to open mics and all this and that. And I know the routine. Yeah, you go to open mics until you're good enough to get on a stage and do shows, and you're an MC. And like I look at it and I'm thinking, like, I should be accustomed to this because I came up in the professional wrestling business, and like I'm used to people just, I mean, not necessarily putting you down, but just that type of relationship of like, I'm going to bust your balls for an hour instead of just sit here and be nice. But when we need to have a legitimate conversation,
we can.
And I tell you that you did this very well, I'll do that, you know? Yeah. And it's like, I don't know. It's weird. It's I don't know if it's my comfort level or the fact that this sounds so egotistical and I don't mean it to. Like my where I am in professional wrestling with the company that I'm at, I get a certain level of respect from people and like ass kissing that I don't like. and a lot of people know that, and I explain it like, listen, don't kiss my ass to try to get you'll get a job if you're good enough, or you'll get a spot on the card if you're good enough. But don't kiss my ass to try to get it. Like just be you. I just want to know you because I want to know who I'm getting into business with, like who I'm booking or who I'm like putting my trust in.
Yeah, and that's like that's kind of similar, like because I was going to PWX for damn near 3 years, and me and you didn't know each other, and that's because I was always at a show. Patrick is the most intimidating looking guy walking around because you're so busy and you're always stone faced.
Oh yeah,
and so you just walk around, and you're like that guy is not a guy you want to bother because he's on a mission right now.
Yeah.
So it was
I do get into my zone. I get into my zone, and that might be what makes me good at what I do. But then I handed you a kendo stick at a show before the show, and you didn't know it was me. And it was that on your Wrestling Open Forum, I commented, it's like, hey, I'm the one that handed you. You're like, really? Because you knew my name from Wrestling Open Forum. Yeah.
And then ever since then, luckily, I was lucky enough to be on there a few times.
I didn't know you. I think I did know, like in conversation, that you had been going to shows for a few years, but I didn't know it was that long.
Well, see, I knew because I always talked to Brian, and me and Brian would talk regularly on the phone.
Gotcha.
But
Brian's good about that. Brian's good about being like I feel like I got more of an open kind of vibe to me now than I used to with fans, because I legitimately, whenever Brian took over the company, and we kind of talked about it in the last episode of the podcast, is I told him, I said, I don't want any recognition. I don't want to be known as the guy behind the scenes. I just want to do what I do and make it successful. Like I have no interest, and I still have no interest in fame at all, or recognition. I don't, and sometimes that hurts, sometimes it doesn't. But like when I do stand up, or when I try to do stand up, I should say, it's not because I wanted to be on stage and I want all the lights on me. No. It's like this. Look, I watched it for a year and a half at Cabarrus Brewing while we did the comedy shows, and I was like, man, this looks like so much fun. Like, and I wonder if I could do it. That's what got. I mean, for a year, I told Nick and Joel that I was gonna do it, and I was gonna. I promise you, man, I'm gonna get up there. I promise you.
Was he? I told you that because I've thought people have always told me like, hey, you should try stand up. It's like, well, I'm funny in conversation. I don't know if I could write a joke. So then when I saw you doing it, I was like, I drove an hour and a half to go see Patrick.
Dude,
I have. I don't know.
Yeah. This dude,
like
people. No, but seriously, you like step over that like it's nothing. But like that level of support is fucking insane. It is so appreciative that it's like whenever you walked in, I was like, dude, because nobody else, like Brian didn't come. No, not to bust on Brian's ball.
No,
but he was working. He was working and he couldn't make it. But like I have best friends that didn't come. You know,
like I came up there, I saw it. I was like, it's the same way I view wrestling. They've been so supportive of me and so supportive of weekends that anybody that's helped me out or given me a shot. You gave me a shot to do commentary on Pure, which is something I never thought. And initially I turned down because it scared the living crap out of me.
But that's what it's about. Is of course you're gonna say it's gonna be scary, but you have to have somebody that's gonna be like, no, you know what? I don't give a shit if you're good or not. Like just freaking jump in the deep end and just see how good you swim. You know?
Yeah, I tell you, anybody that has the chance to drive an hour and a half to China Grove, do it. I love that place. It is so Mayberry meets Squidbillies. I love it. Like the first thing I saw when I got out of the car was this little Sidekick gym that's in this little tin can shed.
Yeah.
I was like, then I walk into the bar and the dude's wearing the Redneck Rampage shirt. I was like, oh, this is awesome.
This is great. That's where I grew up.
Which is funny because I wouldn't consider you a redneck, but everybody else there,
I'm not at all. Like,
it's
I don't feel like I am. I feel like I give that kind of I give that appearance when I talk to people but I've tried so hard to get rid of my country accent. Like it's nowhere near it. Like it used to be. It's funny because like when we do the Wrestling Open Forum, I'd come out like I'm talking now, and it'd be a little. You can tell I got a North Carolina accent or that little Southern accent, but it's not like, hey y'all, you know, blah blah blah. But man, when I start drinking, like after about the third beer, like that filter that like stops like right here, but from my brain to my mouth, that makes me like correct my dialect and try to pronunciate better.
Yeah.
Like is gone,
Just,
gone, and I go straight.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah,
Hey,
straight
no.
17-year-old Patrick of like, hey y'all, hey, no, I need to talk to y'all.
Hey, come
okay?
here, Bo.
Come
Hey,
here.
Bo.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Say, now, and I know this interview is supposed to be about me, but I just want to say,
We're just
if
talking.
you have
It's not an interview. We're just talking.
Interview.
Brad.
All right.
This whole
conversation.
I have my friends on, and we just talk.
Then let's conversate.
And hopefully people
because-
watch it and listen to it because it's on iTunes and Stitcher Radio now.
Let's see. We'll just tag a name on it.
Okay.
Like Chewsdays with Brad Wilson and possibly CM Punk. Like, so we're like, oh, people's going to click and be like, hey, is he going to
That's
be
it.
on?
Yes, yeah, and maybe CM Punk, or just like maybe Barack Obama, maybe Trump.
That's what you got to do to start getting those clicks. But not like Cane Punch Comedy. I had a great time there. I didn't know
Good.
what to expect.
Good.
I would go
trying-
watch you guys again. I think
Awesome.
his name is Joel, the guy that
Yeah,
went on.
yeah.
And I walked up to him and
He's-
told him. And I think this is what helped me get a little bit of respect with the guys in wrestling.
Yeah.
Is I'll give you my honest opinion.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be an asshole about it, but if you ask me if it was good or not, I'll tell you if it was good or not. And if you ask
Yeah.
me,
Yeah, which
but-
is appreciated mostly by people that want to be better at their craft and are working towards being great at what they try to do.
Yeah.
Like that's
But-
highly appreciated.
But I went up to Joel afterwards. I was like, because I love stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
I love stand-up. And I was like, I've seen a lot of stand-up. I've seen some really big names. I was like, he's just as funny as any of them.
Dude, yeah.
Like,
He's
I've seen Kevin James.
gifted.
That dude is, I died the entire set.
Like, the crazy thing, and I won't get into like Joel's whole story, like right here because he's going to be on the podcast, like coming up episode of the podcast, like sooner rather than later. We just got to work our schedules out. I don't know. That's the weird thing is we're best friends, and it's like, hey, dude, can you record it? No, okay. We'll record tomorrow. No, okay. We'll do it next week. But we're supposed to record him and Nick's episode after the comedy show. That didn't happen. We were all dead tired. But like me and Joel and Nick have been friends since high school, and we used to film videos, and that's how Cane Punch came about. It was the Joel and Nick show, then it was the Joel Reyes show, and then it was what we called Chickle Pickins. Because we were at a party hammered one time, and I think either Nick or Joel Ryan, when our friend Ryan tried to say pickled chickens, and they said chickle pickins. And we were like, oh, dude, that's amazing. And we did that for a little bit. And then, like, Joel and Nick went to the military, and we kind of stopped. And then, like, every time they'd come home, we'd film stuff. And then when they got out of the military and moved back here, Joel started doing stand-up. And Joel got really good and got a quick rise in stand-up because he was doing it through the Comedy Zone and he had the right connections to the point where he got him and Nick a gig with I can't remember the guy's name. I do remember, but I don't want to put it out here. But with a guy, and they did like a tour in the Northeast of casinos doing stand-up. And then Joel had an opportunity to go out to Los Angeles, or not Los Angeles, but California, where his mom lives, and do rap music, because music is another, like Nick and Joel are both in music. I love doing the music side. That's why we do Cane Punch music and stuff. But I'm talented at like editing and mixing and producing. Yeah. I'm not good at singing or anything like that. So when he went out there, it kind of like killed his stand up career because he was out there for 2 years and nobody ever heard from him around here. So now he's just now getting back into. I've been trying to get him. And I think, like we've done a few of the Cane Punch comedy shows, but this is the new version of it. And we're trying to figure out how we want to do it before we start taking on the road and traveling with it. But yeah, man, he's like that could be something he was born to do. Because he came to me after that show and he's like that set was horrible. I was like, what?
I loved it.
No, and he's like, no. He's like, the people walked in the door right at my punchline and this and that. And I was like, dude, the fact that the first 10 minutes of your set was you just like talking about random stuff in the room, like people and situations and things that are going on in the room that you couldn't have written, and put it down and worked out, and everything you were talking about got a laugh before you started going into your material that you've written. Yeah, it's like, dude, that's insane.
It was. He is truly, truly talented. I wish I had talented friends. Where are all my friends that are talented?
Right here.
Oh, that's true. That's like all my non-wrestling friends.
Yeah, that's true. That's hard. Well, I'm truly blessed at how talented a lot of my friends are. But that also goes back to, like not necessarily. I've never wanted to be famous. I think Nick and Joel want they chase that fame kind of, and I hope I'm not. I mean, fuck them. Yeah, they chase fame. Like that's a piece of what drives them. But I like that, and that's never driven me. Like the creativity aspect of it is what drives me, and like mastering something, or maybe even the reaction of the crowd. Like we talked about William's birthday last weekend.
Yeah.
Like his reaction when some of those people came out. Like,
oh yeah, when
I
Tim
didn't want to
Jamie
do
came
it.
out.
I told Brian earlier that day. I said, "Man, we have so much stuff and so much money on the line, and so many big opportunities coming up that I don't want to waste my night doing this." I mean, I like William, but from a business perspective, this makes no sense at all. Because we have a big show tomorrow that we're trying to sell out. They're trying to make money back. We have the big show coming up at the arena. We just got to get set up for Pure, and a lot of that falls on me because I do all the production aspect of it. But dude, yeah, with his first reaction when I think it was did Jamie came out after
Jamie
Donst,
came out. Yep.
The Donst reaction, dude, it was like, dude, this.
I
got caught up in the bullshit. Yeah. And it took me away from why I love doing what I do.
And that's why
that single moment, like just humble pie, just hammered me on the head and was like, this is why you do what you do.
And that's what's great about being a fan. Like I love, like as much as I could find out what's going to happen on any show at any time before it starts, and I don't seek that out because I love being a fan. I love being surprised. I didn't know a single match that was happening that night. I knew the main event because William told me, he's like, here's a little tease. This is going to be it. But I didn't know anybody else that was there.
Gotcha.
There were people there that I didn't even know was there because it was raining outside, and I refused to go outside and hang out back there. But
I don't step out in the rain.
It's like
don't.
But it is so fun just being a fan, and then I was sitting over there and I could see his reactions and see those, and that's why I like taking my nephews to wrestling because there's still those honest moments that when you're an adult, when you get to relive those, because life will beat you down, wear you down, and wrestling is such an escapist experience to all of us that to where from bell to bell we get to be a kid again. It doesn't matter when mortgage are due. It doesn't matter when the cell phone bill is due.
That's true. That's very true.
But
it's amazing because like you step out like these past 2 weekends, I have no free time to do anything.
I'm just a fan and I don't have free time.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
And I don't. From my perspective, I don't get. For as much Brian as well, but I mean he pays what he can, but we should get paid a lot more than what we get paid to do what we do. But that's when passion comes in.
Yeah, and that's
so I'm not saying that I'm not putting that out there that I want to I should get paid more because passion is what drives everybody.
He's not saying. He's just saying.
But it's like, from an outsider's perspective, they can look at it and be like, oh, what do you make like $100,000 a year for how much you work? And I'm like, no, not even a fraction of that.
No, it's like I have zero time and I'm just a fan. And people ask, it's because I love the business. Like I went to a show before and there was 30 minutes to door, and nobody was setting up doors. Nobody had chairs, not doors. I'm sorry. Nobody setting up chairs. There were still curtains. And me and another fan put it together because it had to get done.
Yeah.
That stuff I don't mind doing. I'll drive 2 or 3 hours to a show to help support these.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, you're crazy. I was like, no. Am I ever going to make the money back from wrestling that I've put into it as a fan? No. Do I even care? No.
I was about to say, that's not what it's about.
Because if I was still, like, I gave up on wrestling back in 2000, 2001, when Vince bought WCW. I was a huge WCW guy. And then the product started going. He didn't have any competition. So it just wasn't for me. I didn't know about indie wrestling. The only thing I knew about independent wrestling was what JR would say and Tony Schiavone would say, oh, these are just local guys. They're not.
Yeah.
So I never pursued it.
Yeah.
And then I went to a PWX show in 2015. PJ Black was on the card. It was a Pure. It was at what is still one of my favorite venues, Escapade, which we no longer use.
Yeah, because nobody owns it.
Yeah, nobody owns it.
Yeah.
But it always looked as
if
much
you have like $1.2 million, we can buy it, Brad.
Hey, I'll
find an investor. We'll turn it into a Mexican nightclub.
I got the first $5 for anybody that's got the other million.
Yeah. Email us at
Chewsday
special@gmail.com if you are an investor and want to buy a club that we can do wrestling in.
It looks.
I'll
do
your
camera.
graphics. I'll do your graphics and video.
Like that place was. I don't know if this is too far, but that place was a complete shithole in person.
Oh, it is.
But it looked beautiful on camera.
Oh yeah,
it looked beautiful.
I remember. like a funny story is when we were doing the Evolve PWX weekend in July of last year, Gabe goes, do you think we can book that building that you guys had PWX or the X16 in? I was like, you don't want to go to that building, Gabe.
You'll never come back
Yeah.
to Charlotte.
Yeah.
But I don't know
Then he went to Atlanta.
Did I ever tell you the story of how I found PWX?
No, I want to hear it.
All right.
I
so
love
this
these
is,
stories.
All right. I had given up on wrestling, hadn't even paid attention to it. Not WWE, not anything. My friend Garrett, he was like, hey, there's this wrestling show that me and my buddy went to a month ago.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, we're going again. Do you want to go? I was like, I don't have anything to do. I'm not really into wrestling. I don't
Yeah.
know who any of these guys are. When I first started going to shows, I was a heckler because I'm an
Yeah.
asshole, and I didn't know anybody, so it didn't matter.
We established that.
Yeah. so I went. I remember it was. I went back and looked it up. It was the event was called Pure, which is
Yeah.
kind of like ironic. It all come full
That
circle.
was the main event, Cedric versus PJ.
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I know PJ was there. I know Adam Page was there.
James Drake, that's his debut.
I knew it. Because it was with Timmy.
believe.
He was tagging with Timmy Lou Rayton. No.
No.
God, there was somebody that tagged
He
with
was
Timmy Lou Rayton.
tagging. He was tagging with. What's the? I know his real name, but I don't. Cosby. Really, Kid Chaos.
He was with Kid Chaos that night?
Yeah.
I do not remember that.
I believe so because they wrestled Ethan and Elijah.
Because I remember Timmy Lou
Are you
coming
thinking
out.
of
I remember Timmy coming.
Giuliani or Giuliani? What's Mikey or Mickey
Is he-
from Raleigh? Mickey
Gambino.
Gambino. Is that who
Is he-
was tagging with
I
Timmy?
don't remember. In my head,
I
it's already
think
changed.
I think that's who
because
it was.
in my head, it's already changed to James Drake, and he says it wasn't him. But to me,
I don't
like,
think we
that's
ever
all-
teamed Drake with.
Because I remember Timmy coming out, and I was like, "Who is this guy?" He had the streamer back then, the little
Oh, that
ribbon.
was Gambino.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry,
And then I
sorry
was
to
like-
burst your bubble.
All right. Well,
I'll be the asshole now.
still Drake to me, damn it. but no, it came out, and that show, you guys didn't win me over on that show because the lights went out, and intermission lasted like 2.5 hours.
Oh, because we couldn't find the Hispanic. You want to hear that? The backstory to that?
Listen, let me finish this.
Okay.
So I was like, I told my buddy Garrett, I was like, by the time it was over, I was like, it was cool, but I'm never going back again. What is that? Oh, people walking on the roof.
Oh, okay.
I thought we were getting broken
Yeah.
into.
SWAT team is here. SWAT team is here.
But I was like, oh, I'll never go back again. And he's like, yeah, man, that was crazy. But I went back the next month. I don't know why. He was like, hey, it's going. And I went back.
Drank the
and
Kool-Aid.
then, yeah. And then it was Cedric versus Joe.
Oh,
And I went for that. And that match
yeah.
is what captured me.
Yeah.
And ever since then, I've missed 2 PWX shows since then. One was
Really?
for my girlfriend's birthday. One
Smart.
was the night after Pure 1, and I was just drained
Yeah.
so much that I could not pull myself out of bed because I was here like all day.
Yeah. The backstory to that was like they gave us the option if we wanted to use their lights because they had this big like lighting rig above the ring, and we were like, yeah, why not? That's the first time we ever ran that building, and because the entrance was over on the side, wasn't
Yep.
it? And you walked down, they walked up.
Yeah.
So we went to intermission. The guy cut the lights off, and we brought the house lights up, and then we couldn't find the guy. Not to mention, this guy spoke no English at all. And I was like, and I went to the owner, which is this young Hispanic girl, and I was like, we need the light guy, and she's like, oh, okay, un momento, and she runs off, and like 20 minutes later, he's still not there, and I was like, dude, she's like, he left.
What do you mean you left?
What? He left? And she's like, yeah, he left. He's on his way back. That might have been like 10 minutes after I asked. And I said, hey, we got to go. And then he shows up, and he's like, oh, I'm sorry, go eat. And I was like, what? In the middle
There's a show going on.
yeah, we're paying you guys. I don't, what? And yeah, but yeah, then that's when we decided to use our lights from then on.
See, I remember.
Now you know the reason that we use our, like, we're so heavy on, like, we need our own lights.
We need to
and do our
control
own-
everything.
Yeah, we need to control
But-
everything.
But no, I do remember PJ Black because I remember him saying like, and again, I had no clue who he was. I hadn't been watching WWE, hadn't been
okay.
watching anything, and he was like,
You didn't know he was straight off
he's-
WWE.
Yeah, he's like, this is why I left WWE to come to promotion, and I'm sitting there thinking like, you're so full of.
Yeah.
I was like, you left WWE, and then I went and looked it up and I was like, oh, he really did leave just to go back to the Indies. And then now I hardly ever watch WWE still.
That's one thing that's like sorely overlooked about PWX is we've been so lucky about being able to get people, like to get talent. And and part of it is the fact that we have the relationship with Mike, who knows about a lot of these people from being in PWG or like working with Evolve or WWN or this and that. And he knows almost everybody knows Mike from Hotspots, and he can usually contact them. We're never ones that we'll ask. I hate asking people for other people's contact information.
Yeah.
Unless it's like an email. If it's an email, or now with the beauty of Facebook Messenger is you can contact people on Messenger.
Yeah.
And I mean, who was it that I tried to contact, and somebody wrote me back and they were like, "Oh, this really isn't this person. I just run his fan page." But I think this is his real Facebook page, and it was under his real name. And I was like, "Oh, okay." But it's like, and the second piece of that is that Brian will spend the money needed to get people here.
Yeah, and that makes a big difference because I've been to great shows, and I've been to shows that made me question like my fanhood,
your fandom.
And it's nothing to go against those wrestlers or those promotions. There's something because even at the shows that I consider really bad, there's fans that are going crazy. So there's a product for absolutely everybody.
It's like I tell people all the time, find what you want your promotion to be. Don't try to be like anybody else, because we did that. I tried to do that with Evo. I tried to be PWG. And it kind of worked, but there's only a certain level because you're never going to be that. Mm-hmm. Like if we wanted to be like WWE, that's just not possible.
Yeah.
It's not possible for anybody to touch that because there's such a global phenomenon now that it's out of reach. Like anything's possible except for that. But like that's what Impact Wrestling now. I feel like they have a vision.
Yeah.
They're like, this is what we want to be. This is what we're going to be. And it's 10 times better now because they're not trying to be like WWE.
No, and
they're using their own stars. They're creating their own look. They're creating their own aura.
And if you look at it, their top star is a guy WWE gave up on.
Yeah.
Sammy is one of my favorites in the world right now. What he's doing rivals what Cody has did, and I don't think he gets nearly the respect he deserves for what he's accomplished.
Dude, I remember I consider Sammy a good friend. I remember talking to him. When he first left WWE, when we first booked him. And I had met him like once or twice, like in passing, like maybe at CZW or somewhere. And but me and him became good friends through the first run through PWX, and we stayed in touch. And then I did a Revolver show for him. And I see him. I do all of his WrestleMania shows, and it's like he is driven, more passionate and driven than maybe anybody that I know. And there's a reason that he is doing as well as he is.
That's great.
Because he's so smart to what he's doing. And he's one of those guys that's like living out what I try to preach to people is like, find what you want to be and be that.
Yeah,
like he created this character. That's what he wants to be. And so he's that everywhere he goes. So It in my mind, the way I read it is it creates that special thing of like whenever you saw that WWE or WWE and WCW and ECW for that matter couldn't give you is like when Steve Austin went to the ECW and then showed up in WWE, he was two different things.
Yeah.
Like Sammy is going from Lucha Underground, even though his name's different, but it's the same character that he is in Impact. And then that's the same character that he is in New Japan. That's the same character. So it's transparent through the entire world of professional wrestling.
And he's able, so smart to be able to tweak it to capture the crowd that he's after and the crowd that he's in.
Yeah.
Because what I see a lot with wrestlers is you're great in the ring, but you don't understand how to read the crowd. And what works in the Southeast doesn't always work in the Northeast. And what works in the Northeast doesn't always work in California. And Sammy and the best people in the world know how to take that and tweak it a little bit. You can still be true to yourself, but there's certain things you have to tweak. Maybe a joke that could get over down here or something you say in the ring can go well down here. If you say the same thing in Northern California, well, guess what? You're going to be booed out of the building.
Yeah.
But
I agree. And it's one of the best examples of that is the match he had with Ethan in PWX. It was a wrestling match. Like there was no hardcore stuff. There was no weapons.
There was a lot of spit.
It was a lot of spit, maybe excessive spit,
Because excessive
but
lubricants.
yeah, but like it was just a straight wrestling match.
Yeah. And then
And
after the match, I was like, he's not gonna attack him or anything. He's not gonna.
Yeah.
And then Sammy being Sammy comes out, loses the match, comes attacks your then champion.
That's legit. After that was over with, I looked at Brian. I said, "Okay, we made it through.
He got through it.
Love of God." And then like I was breaking down production stuff, and next thing you know, shit hits the fan.
It's funny, and I'm gonna call out a guy here, Kevin. You know Kevin.
Yeah.
He's security guard.
Oh.
When that happened, if you go back and watch the tape, I was like, why didn't I see you in there trying to control Sammy? He's like, I was walking up to him. He's like, I saw him grab other people and shake them, and he's like, I decided I didn't want that for my life. So if you go
Jared, barely escaped with his life. Barely escaped with his life.
Oh, Robert,
Jared went in ninja mode with that when that slap came, and he kind of.
The reflexes from Jared was phenomenal.
My God. It was insane. We might have footage of that we never put out. I chose not to put it out because I don't want to. I feel like you glorify stuff like that if you put it out. So it wasn't on the DVD or anything. But yeah, I'm gonna go back to something you touched on earlier. Why don't you ever want to do stand up? Let's go to an open mic one night.
I don't know how to write a joke. I know how to be.
I'll tell you when we get off camera. I just wrote my first joke. Like the Ric Flair joke is funny.
Yeah.
And but that's piggybacking on the callback.
Yeah.
So I don't really consider that writing my first joke. I wrote my first legit joke yesterday about a real situation, and I'll tell it to you. I won't do it on camera because I haven't even done it on stage yet. But writing it yesterday, it was me and my boss was sitting there talking at work, and I was messing around with something. I can't remember what I was messing around with in my head because I always try, I'm trying to get in that set when something happens or I see something or something pops in my head, I can try to make a joke out of it. I feel like that's how it starts. I have no idea the process at all. I'm with you. I have no idea if just go. And I can't, and I'm not one of those that can sit down and just start writing funny things.
Nah, and then remembering and recalling when you're on stage.
But that's what phone. I got it typed up on my phone. I just kept typing when it was hitting me. But when I finished it, I was crying. I was laughing so hard, and I'm so pumped to try that joke or to tell it to I'm gonna tell it to you like I'm gonna tell it on stage just to get your reaction. I told it two people. I told it to my girlfriend, and she busted out laughing.
Didn't you say she never laughs at your jokes too?
No, dude.
Oh, that's an accomplishment in herself.
I love her to death because she's the most supportive person on the face of the earth. But yeah, when it comes to comedy, she thank God her sister was at the Cane Punch show because the whole time Katie's just sitting there and her sister was beside her just cracking up the whole time. You're so funny. And I was like, thank God.
You know what I love the most about Katie?
What?
She never remembers who I am. She introduces herself to me every single time. And usually somebody of my size and as doofy looking as I look.
Kate. Yeah.
She's like, hey, I'm Katie. I was like, hey, I'm Brad. Again.
We've met. I've been to your house, Katie.
I've been to your house several times. But
Bless her. Man, but yeah, if you can crack her, then you've done something. Nice. She's one of those people that laughs at things that say if I step on a rake and it comes up and hits me in the nuts, she'll lose her shit. But if I try to say something funny to her, she'll just be like,
maybe you should give slapstick comedy a chance. Just
have a ball going, a tennis ball, wham!
When I remember watching you do it when I went up to Concord, China Grove. I don't know if it's considered same thing.
Yeah,
but
close enough.
And I was like, I had a lot of respect. I was like, man, because that's something again. I want to try that, but I never had the courage to try it. I was like, now that's part of the reason I drove up to go see you. I was like, because it takes a lot to go up there. Because more than anything, you're alone up there with a microphone in front of a room full of people.
That can be kind of, I don't know. For me, that's not the scary part. I'll stand in front of people, but I've done trivia. I've done the wrestling thing for a long time, where I've talked a few times in front of the big crowds, and it's that doesn't bother me at all. I'm never nervous about getting up there and talking in front of people. It doesn't even make me nervous when I'm just looking at people with the microphone at all.
I almost did music bingo as a, as a side job.
There you go.
And,
I mean, that's how you like slither your
Is
way into that.
Because I had a buddy that does it, and he was like, "Hey, I'm looking for people to fill in so I can pick up more venues." And
Yeah.
this was before I started the job where I'm
I
at
was trying
now.
to like build like a
Yeah.
whole thing. Gotcha.
Yeah. So I went over. We met at a bar that's a couple miles from my house that he happened to be doing it
Mm-hmm.
at. And like I was going to do it because at the time I needed a job. I
Why
just
not?
needed the extra money. And then I eventually got this job, and the hours weren't going to allow me to do it.
Yeah.
But I remember him being in there, and he was so into it all night. And then, but like there was one person that enjoyed this music bingo, and I was like, man, that's like
That's all
so
you do.
much.
That's all. That's the first thing that like Jake and a bunch of other people that have helped me. It's like just find that one person that's enjoying you and just lock with them and just go off them. And that's, I mean, but it's, I don't know. Like the first time I did it wasn't horrible. And even like I talked to this one of the girls that does the Facebook groups for comedy and stuff, and she was there when I bombed. And I said, and I met her for the first time. People introduced me. And I said, "Hey, my name's Patrick." I said, she's like, "Oh yeah, I remember you from the Muse." And I was like, "Listen, don't judge me by that. That was horrible." She's like, "No." So it's never as bad. She's like, "No, I've seen people bomb, and you didn't bomb. You did fine. You're only your third time ever." And I was like, "I know, but I hold a high standard that this is what I want to be. This is what I want to do."
See, me and you are a lot
Yeah.
alike in our, and it goes back to something you said earlier, the creativity aspect.
Yeah.
That's why you want to be, because me and you are both edit.
Mm-hmm.
Me and you, so I think me and you have a lot in common as to where I love seeing something from nothing and creating the process.
That's the beauty. That's the beauty of anything. Of creativity is, it comes from a thought in your brain.
And then you're able to make it a reality, and
Yeah.
that's the best way. And then when you see people enjoying it,
Yeah.
But the flip side of that is when you work so hard all the time and you show it to people,
Yeah.
and they think it's absolutely garbage.
Yeah.
It is so soul crushing.
Yeah. So I've had like that's the crazy thing about China Grove set is that was the first one I did since I just bombed incredibly on stage. So I was and also like I was talking to Joel about this right before we started the show. Is I said I would rather do my stand-up set or just practice jokes in front of complete strangers than people I know. Because for me, if I feel like it might be because I have to live with Katie all day, all day, every day. But for me, it's like people I know can tell if I'm full of shit or if I'm not, or like, oh, this is just Patrick. To whereas strangers are kind of like I don't know. It's a weird seesaw of emotion because you don't know. I feel like strangers at a comedy show, like people that come to a comedy show that you have no idea. It's almost like going to school for the first time in a new town. Like you can be whatever you want to.
So how do you decide what type of comedian you want to be? Have you even decided? Like
I haven't.
Because there's like the Mitch Hedbergs, the one-liners.
Yeah,
There's like
it's
Or is it? I mean, you're only one. Your next show will be your fifth show. So
yeah, my fifth.
There's still a lot of growing. to go.
I'm not even. And the thing is like I've only done one open mic, and I want to do more. But I feel like even though the open mic at the Evening Muse in Charlotte was awesome, and if you can go and you're a comedian, and I can't wait to go back just to try to kill that whole. Like that's my goal now is to go back to the Muse for that thing because that's the first time I've ever presented myself. I mean, I knew a lot of these comedians because Jake books the Cabarrus show for me, so they've all come through and I've met them. But I mean, it's different when you're like, oh, I'm the guy that helps put this thing together. I'm the production guy, but I'm Patrick. Nice to meet you. And all of them think I work at the brewery. All of them because I always have Cabarrus brewing shirts on. But it's completely different when you're just a production guy, and when you're trying to do what they do. Like whenever you become a peer or like you want to be at their level. So a lot of them, I mean, they've all been very nice, but a lot of them that I don't know from the comedy scene were there. So it's the first time that you ever step foot and you're like, I'm going to try this.
So which locker rooms are the craziest? There's a locker room full of wrestlers or a locker room full of comedians?
Wrestlers. I don't know. I think they both have, because I haven't really had the experience because like that was the first time I've been around a bunch of them and I've tried. And everybody seemed like I stayed pretty quiet because I don't want to overstep my boundaries. I've taken my wrestling training into the comedy world of like, you just introduce yourself, keep your mouth shut, and just listen. So, I mean, I told myself that I'm just gonna sit here. So I said hey to Jake. I saw a few other comedians that I've done some like things with or done some graphics or stuff for. Said hey to him, and I just sat there. And like Darius was there supporting one of his friends, so I saw Darius. I talked to him for a little bit, and then I was like the second or third comedian that went up. And yeah, I don't know because none of them were really. Like people tell me that there's sometimes there's circles and it's hard to get in that circle,
Yeah.
and I don't really care about any of that stuff. I don't really care what any of them think of me. I just want them to know that I'm going to work my ass off to protect and perfect this craft.
See,
Like,
and that's
I'm not like even though I can't make it to you don't see me everywhere doesn't mean that I'm not going to do my best to be good at this and respect the art, respect the craft, and this and that. And I think once they know me, especially once they, and I might be stepping out of or talking out of turn, but once they find out how like all the creative things I can do for the comedy community, that's when that's going to be my door in.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like two different beasts because I don't know because I just hear things. I don't know I haven't stepped deep enough into that world to understand it yet. So it's like, do you go into wrestling and you want to look good, you want to have an insane body, you want to be very athletic, you want to understand the.
These are all
concept.
reasons why Brad Wilson is not a wrestler.
But you know what I mean? But that's
Like,
that you go into a wrestling locker room and that's what you think about.
Yeah.
Like, but then you go into a comedian locker room and in my like the funnier you look as a comedian, I think the more people are gonna laugh. Like it's almost an advantage to not look good. Which I'm not saying I look good, but I'm from what everybody ever tells me from the comedy thing is like you're an attractive dude, like that's gonna and you know what I mean. And it's just and I'm like so I'm an attractive guy. I guess I'm kind of fit. I don't know if that has anything to do with it. It's like you scratch all that away and you just go up there and you just gotta be funny.
Nice.
Like and it's I don't know. It's weird and I don't even like talk. Well, I don't mind talking about it, but because I feel like I haven't done it enough to like talk about it.
Yeah.
Like I've only done it a few times and I got that energy built up and the problem now is I'm not that damn 21-year-old kid anymore that has nothing to do where I can just jump in and go. I have like a full-time job. I have to help run PWX. I have the trivia and and I don't want to be one of those people that say Jake and I've told Jake this like I want to just do stand up every third Thursday at Cabarrus. Because I help run the thing. I don't want to do that. I want to step out. Now, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But I also then you also take into consideration, and I know I'm getting long-winded. You take into consideration, do I really want to start this journey at 35 years old, like to just hit up open mics for like the next couple of years, and try to perfect my craft?
But there's always if you don't, then it's going to be what if.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I don't live by what if. That's why I finally was just like, you know what, screw it, I'm going to do it. Because I remember seeing there's a comedian in Charlotte named Jason King, and I had a conversation with him, and insane, like probably one of the best comedians I've seen, like local comedians I've seen in the area, and just so flawless and makes it look so easy, just incredible. And I remember him just saying like, "Fuck it, just do it." Like, what do you have to lose? People don't laugh.
That's how.
Yeah, I mean that's how you know. He said I can't. It's not verbatim, but he was saying like you don't know unless you do it, and that made me realize that talk made me realize like where did I used to be like that all the time about everything. Like that's why me and my friends have done a CD. That's why like we do music. That's why we do stand up or not stand up. That's why we do the comedy group. That's why I got into wrestling because. That's what I tell everybody. If you want to do something, just there's a way to do it, and don't judge it by the world's views of what success is. Success is not like having $1 million in the bank.
No, and I've realized, and I still want to have $1 million.
Oh yeah, I mean that's like whipped cream on top of the cake.
Yeah,
but
like to me, like to go back to Pure 3 when you gave me the opportunity to do commentary, and I initially turned it down. And I saw Saeed Al-Sabah posted, "Don't let fear dictate your choices."
Yeah.
And it was like immediately after I told you no, and that got me thinking. And I was like, that really hit me. And I actually
That's
messaged
awesome.
her. I was
Yeah.
like, thanks for posting that. I was like, you don't know, you didn't post it, had no clue about me even reading it. I was like, but that changed me.
Yeah.
I was like, and I hit you up. I was like, hey, if the spot's still available, I'd like to give it a shot.
Well, that's like, I was the. It's cool. It's cool that you mentioned that because you don't know when you post something inspirational on social media. Like social media is such shit now
Yeah.
that I like Sayu because he posts inspirational stuff and like stuff that's true to himself. So like I feel like we need a movement. I might start a movement like I don't know, like preach positivity. Hashtag preach positivity. Where like we post. Let's start it right now.
Hashtag.
Yeah. Hashtag preach positivity.
Stop posting dumb shit.
No, preach positivity.
Oh yeah.
You can't say stop posting dumb shit to preach positivity.
All right, I'm learning. I'm learning.
So every day we have to post something positive.
All right, we'll do it
on our social media accounts. So yeah, it's like that's the power of positivity and the power of creativity and the positive in the.
I'm sorry.
And
the power of positivity.
Power. But yeah, and like there was a memory that came up a year ago when Cedric's last match, when Jake was talking to Cedric, and him saying like he's an example of if you do it right, no matter what your age, no matter how many times you've screwed up, no matter how many lost opportunities you think you've had. Like, just believe in yourself, and if you got something that you want to do, just do it.
Like, I love using Cedric as an example, even though I've met Cedric once and had a conversation with him. Like, I've met him, of course, over the years, shook his hand, said, hey, what's up? But I've only had, like, one real conversation with him. But I remember being at shows where, like, nobody was at his gimmick stand. And, like, it was because Charlotte got so spoiled by Cedric, it got to a point, well, that's just Cedric. But Cedric was always special. The first time you see Cedric, there's something a little different about this
What's
guy.
crazy is I remember when Cedric first started coming around and everybody saying, like, this is the guy. Like, this was before he was any good. Like, when he was straight out of college, like college wrestling, he was super skinny and really, like NWA New Beginnings. Like, you look that up. That's Cedric up.
I'll go look at that.
And, and that's why I love Cedric, because he's still so humble. And he understands. He's one of those few people that understands how, like, the hard work and the opportunity, how opportunity and hard work kind of fall here.
Yeah.
And you have to wait until they cross, and it's your time. Because that's what a lot of people get lost on is, I use this podcast as an example. Like, I'll post this podcast, and I'm saying this just so in like a year when I've done, 52 of these things, and we have hopefully an exponential growth in listeners and followers, is like maybe like 15 people listen to this podcast now. And it's just like you just got to put your head down and grind and do it. And it's not like this podcast isn't even about like getting viewers or listeners and this. I've always done things for everybody else. I've always helped other people get what they need to do. And I finally decided at 34, 35 years old that I want to do something for myself.
Yeah.
And one of the funnest things I do is podcast. And one of the even more fun things that I do than that is sit down and have talks with my friends and people that I admire and I look up to, and that I can sit here and talk and get their stories and get this and that.
Yeah.
Like the beauty of a podcast episode is, even though like me and you have become friends over the last probably year?
Yeah.
Like, I'll know more about you after this conversation than I ever knew before.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And, like, that's what's crazy and great about wrestling as a whole. I've met so many great people.
Oh,
Like, something that I will admire for the rest of my life. Life may get to the point where I'm not able to go to as many shows as I do, but I'll always have these memories. And I ride on the road a lot with the Zons, Ed Zon and Gassy Zon, and I've learned so much from Ed. And a lot of the respect that I've got from the guys in the back that started accepting me in is walking into a room with Ed, who has accomplished a lot. And like, all right, this guy isn't just a normal – well, I am just a normal marketing fan, but they'll at least accept me a little bit more as to it's not why the hell are you back here during this time. It's like, well, no. And now it's got to the point where if I'm not at a show, I'll get messages where, why weren't you here?
Yeah.
But not those riding on the road with those guys, riding on the road with high profile, going up to Tennessee, down to Florida, to Georgia, to Virginia, West Virginia. Those are things that I'm sorry to my regular friends outside of wrestling that I'd rather be doing that than going to the same city bar every Friday, because those memories all become repetitive. And I would have never met you had it came from wrestling. I would have never met Ed. And I've got to the point where WWE is great for what it is, but it's not for me. Indie wrestling is for me.
Yeah.
And I used to knock WWE, but I don't anymore because it's the only $1 billion wrestling company to ever exist. And now they just signed a new $1 billion deal.
WWE helps indie wrestling survive.
Yeah, if it wasn't for WWE, and I've always thought about that, they're like, oh, well, if WWE goes away, a lot of indie wrestling is going to go away.
Yeah.
So
like they're the ones that make normal people fans of wrestling.
Yeah.
So their Monday Night Raw or SmackDown will drive people to go to a wrestling show, like an independent wrestling show in their hometown.
Yeah.
That's what people overlook.
And me, I was kind of reversed because indie got me back into WWE, and that's why I was never able. Now I find myself watching WWE to see guys that I know.
Yeah, that's the crazy thing now is that I remember a time when I watch. That's the only reason I watch WWE is to watch people that I know and see. And NXT is just like that's insane. I was talking to this kid the other day when he was asking me when he found out I was wrestling. He's like, "Do you know this person?" I was like, "Actually, yeah." "You know this person?" "Yeah." "Do you know this person?" "Yeah." And like 10 out of the 12 people he named, I know on a personal level of like sitting with them, having conversations with them. If I saw them like in a hallway, I'd be like, "Oh, hey, Kev. Oh, hey, Patrick. Oh, hey." You know, it's ridiculous, man.
And it's crazy to me to think that like with James Drake, like I've went and had beers with James Drake, and now he's getting to a certain national recognition, and I'm so happy. And I've told him, I was like, it's going to get to a point where I say, I miss seeing James Drake.
Yeah.
And that's what I hope for all these guys.
Yeah.
And ultimately, because what you said, you want to see other people succeed, that's what gets my happiness. My happiness doesn't come from my personal success. I love seeing the people around me succeed. That's why I'll give people a ride here, ride
That's
there.
what you like, seeing the people you support succeed.
That's why I'll buy. So I have 150 wrestling shirts. I don't need that many shirts, but I want to help feel like I'm helping support these guys.
You need that many shirts. I'm a shirt connoisseur that I get fussed at about every day of my life. But yes.
But it's so crazy. And then especially like Weekends Are for Wrestling grows. I get requests every day, and I don't even accept all the requests that I get every day because I vet them. I don't allow trolls on Weekends Are for Wrestling. I don't, because to go back to what we said, social media has become such a melting pot of shit that we hashtag preach positivity, much like what I'm doing right now.
Preach positivity.
but it is, and so the people that are on there, and if people post stuff that are out of line, they get deleted with no recognition.
Yeah.
I don't post anything about it. I'll say, hey, this person, I don't comment. It's just remove it. I remove the comment and I go, because what I want is a community where you can go sell your merch, you can go pump your shows, you can post your promos, and you can feel like you fit in.
The central hub of preaching positivity to professional wrestling. Independent professional wrestling.
I don't know how long this interviews went, but I hope we still have listeners by now.
I don't know. This is fun,
it's been real fun.
We got to wrap it up because I keep everything like under an hour.
Okay.
So
how long have we been going? It's
like 1 hour.
Oh, all right, cool.
1 hour. So you tell everybody where they can find you on social media.
There's a Facebook. As of right now, it's Facebook. Just search hashtag Weekends Are for Wrestling. Coming soon. I will be starting the Instagram. I want to get a website up and running. I have some big things planned that I'm not going to discuss yet until it's all finalized. I'm not sure if you've been made aware of it, but there are some big things that I'm wanting to do going forward to help pump it, and I'll kind of go over that after we sign off here.
Let's do it. I gotta tell you a joke too.
Yeah, so we just gonna help support each other, brother.
Because we're preaching positivity.
Hashtag preach positivity. Hashtag Weekends Are for Wrestling. Hashtag Cane Punch Comedy. I don't know what Cane Punch means, but
Cane Punch.
Oh, Cane, I got it.
Little wrestling tag in there. I can't remember.
I thought it was like a donkey punch.
I think we. I think like people ask me, and I think the correct story. This is what I tell everybody. I think the correct story is we used to walk around when we were younger and go cane punch and do that to each other, and you have to sell it. It might have been me and my wrestling friends. I don't know, but whenever we decided we weren't going to do chickle pickings anymore, like we said, they were throwing out, and I finally said, "Why don't we just do cane punch?" And that way we can just be like cane punch for the tag.
Me and my friend should have done that. It was always nut slaps. God, y'all were so much smarter.
Slap nuts. Cup check.
God, could have saved so many painful memories just like with a cane
Just
punch.
cane punch. All right, dude. Thank you, Brad. It was a pleasure.
I
man.
appreciate it, man.
Awesome
Thank you.
podcast.
Thank you for listening to Chewsday Special Podcast. Subscribe on iTunes, leave a like on this video, and comment down below. Oh yeah, bang. Oh yeah, bang.